Earlier this month, Eckhartsladder made a video showing you 5 ways to instantly improve in Star Wars Squadrons. These range from shield management for Rebels, power shunting for Empire, targeting systems and more. If you happen to miss that video, you can check it out in the top right corner showing now, or in the pinned comment below. For those who watched it, you seem to really enjoy the video, and after extensive play on our end, we're back with 5 more tips and tricks to instantly improve in Star Wars Squadrons. Myself, Eckhartsladder, Corey Loses, Wasted Space, and Captain Shaq all hover around 60 to 70% win rates in ranked fleet battles. So hopefully we can help you get to those numbers too. But before I jump into it guys, my question of the day is, what tactic do you hate the most in Star Wars Squadrons? For me, I'm not a massive fan of the TIE Bomber's hull strength, nor its rotary cannon either, let alone the Bomber's multi-lock missiles, which makes AI farming bug really easy to pull off. But what about yours? Let me know them in the comments down below. We read all of them and try to get back to some of you too. Finally, if you're fed up with playing Squadrons on your own or with just one friend, why not join our Discord? We have tons of people playing the game there, with a chat room dedicated to finding a group of people to play with and voice chat rooms for each full 5-man squadron. So go ahead and join in the pinned comment below. But with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Number 1 is combo controls. So before I get into the first point, I should really note that these tips are a little bit more complex than the first 5. So definitely ensure that you've watched X video first. But with that said, let's go. Combo controls are inputs that are determined by how many times you press the button, and can be configured in a controller section of options. A perfect example of this is that when you want to prioritize shields to front or back, the Xbox controllers, the selector option is default, meaning that you hold down the X and press forward or backwards on the first joystick to choose whether you want the shields to go front or back, all whilst attempting to fly and, I'd assume, outmaneuver damage. Combo controls means you simply press X once for shields to go back, twice for shields on front, or hold them to reset them. This might not be for everyone, but as somebody who has exclusively played on controller, this was absolutely vital for faster inputs. It took a little while to get used to it, almost like relearning the system, but it was worth it to shave down my reaction times. But it doesn't stop there. If you have a hard time bringing your fighter to half speed for better turning, changing the throttle input mode to steps allows you to speed up or slow down in increments. Putting that increment to 50% allows you to tap the controller or HOTAS down once, and you're immediately at half speed for those tighter turns. I had this one for a while, but practiced getting a better sense of when I was at half speed for the continuous option. Another ability is to either hold or toggle submenus for shield focus, objective wheel, and ping wheel. All of these functionalities need some sort of attention by the user, and once you found your preferred setting, it can be an easy win on improving your experience and skill within Squadrons. Number 2 is complex shield management. So Eck did dive into this on his first video, understanding when to put shields in the front or back when being attacked, overcharging your shields at the start of the game because the shield overcharge decay is slow, etc, etc. But here's another level to it all. When overcharged shields are prioritized to either front or back, this does not mean your shields are constantly going to be allocated to the back as it's being drained. It's a little hard to explain, but hear me out. You have normal 100% shields, 50% on the front, 50% on the back. You start taking damage from the back, so you prioritize shields to the back, meaning there's 0 shields on the front, but 100% shields on the back. Okay, that makes sense. But when you have overcharged 200% shields, 100% shields to the front, 100% shields to the back, prioritizing shields to the back does nothing. When your shields start to drain, the 100% shields on the front stay exactly where they are, despite you choosing to prioritize shields to the back. So be sure, when you get the chance, to keep repurposing that extra overshield from the front down to the back. When I was starting out in Squadrons, I kept seeing 100% shields to the front when I was dying, and I was confused. I'm sure I allocated shields to the back, I would question. And I did, but it wasn't continuous. You have to manually keep resupplying shields to the back, so be sure to use up all your shields when under fire. I recommend glancing more at your shield distribution on the right of your cockpit, more when you're under fire. You'll instantly get what I'm on about. And if you're absolutely unsure where the damage is coming from, just constantly reset shields to the center. If you keep doing it over and over again, you'll keep distributing the shields in the center, meaning there will be no area exposed during that time. So if I'm absolutely not sure where the damage is coming from, I simply tap X if I'm in selector or hold X when I'm in combo. Number 3 is understanding flagship hardpoints. Whilst the game helps you understand where hardpoint systems for each flagship are, your targeting systems, power supply, left and right shield generator, and so on, there is another section you need to get a better idea of: weapons. Flagships and frigates are surrounded by destructible laser turrets, ion cannons, turbo lasers, missile launchers, and tractor beams, all which can be seen in the graph here in the Empire's ISD and Rebel MC-75. Better yet, these are targetable. By using your select target head at one of these little turrets, you'll be able to focus them down and take them out. For Xbox or PS4 users, this will probably be your left bumper trigger. This feature is especially important for frigates, as they end up doing almost no damage when all 5 turrets are destroyed. They don't require much firepower to destroy either. For the Star Destroyer, it's a little different. Whilst destroying all these turrets from top to bottom of the Star Destroyer can help reducing the output damage, it will still attempt to deal damage even when there's no available weapon hardpoints remaining. So don't prioritize them over actual system hardpoints. But if you happen to do see one on your bombing run, I recommend you do attempt to target it. The reason you want to target the usual system hardpoints instead is because they grant super important bonuses once destroyed. Destroying both shield generators permanently disables the shields, meaning you no longer have to pass through the shield to damage or take it down. Destroying the power systems reveal weak points that are these large blue electric sections that deal 8% of the ship's total hull health when destroyed, and targeting, which increases the percentage chance of the flagship misfiring on your ship. With these flagship weapon hardpoints acknowledged, you'll need to understand the best approaches when it comes to taking out shield generators on both flagships. You'll need to travel past more firepower to get to the ISD's shield generators if you travel right through it head on. Going underneath isn't an option either, due to the tractor beams holding you in place if you do. The best approaches are either taking an incredibly wide turn to the side of the ship and going just behind the shield generators, passing the nearest one if the shields are up, and moving to the one following that afterward. The reason you don't want to start firing on the first is because there's not a lot of space between the passing of the shield barrier and the shield generator itself, which makes it very difficult to slow down and successfully fire upon it. Passing through the shield and giving yourself more room to slow down nearer the furthest shield generator will allow you to hide behind the generator, making it harder to be hit, and give you more firing time before making your escape to survive. For the MC-75, the best approach is a much faster journey, dipping in from the bottom upward, passing the bottom of the ship where the power is located, flying towards the shield generators whilst firing, and then dipping out to avoid the turbo laser banks at the very top. A little add-on to the script at last minute, Eckhartsladder found a really effective approach to the ISD, which is by flying through the brim of the ship, leading you to the back of the flagship whilst almost avoiding all weapon hardpoints. Number 4 is dying on attack and defense. When playing fleet battles, it's very easy to immediately assume you've evened out by dying after overextending to secure a kill. Sometimes it can be something just plain dumb and crashing into the enemy, killing you both. But you secured the kill and nothing lost, nothing gained, right? Wrong. Morale behaves very differently depending on if you're on the attacking or defending phase. The scoring is as followed. If you're on attacking phase, AI kills are 2 points and player kills are worth 5 points. If you're on the defending phase, AI kills are 5 points, player kills are 10 points, and the radar or CR90 is 20 points. Meaning that if you're on the offensive and you get killed after securing 2 kills yourself, you lose all that progress you made. Even if it means dying, defending players will happily secure that kill on you. So odd movements like enemies crashing right into you, killing you both, earns them 5 more morale. This is why blind runs on the flagship, overextending or re-entering combat without supplying is incredibly harmful to your team overall. Ironically, you need to play a bit more defensively when attacking. Choosing the right times to push for an attack run is absolutely vital, and for the utility support to hang back and wait for allies to get in safe range to give them supply or shields. So if a teammate pings and they're 3,000 meters away from the flagship or you, don't follow up. Leave them. Don't lose more morale than you've already have. Number 5 is Rebel and Empire stat imbalance. Finally, not every ship is built the same. It can be very easy to slip into this way of thinking that everything in the Rebel and Empire factions are the same, simply because they behave the same way in game, but they are seriously not. And it's not just in ship stats too, it's also more in the primary weapons. For example, the guided burst cannon for the X-Wing has 172 DPS, while the TIE Fighters has 207, dealing 35 damage more per second, which is very significant in a whole clip of damage. There are a lot of variations in damage, total health, ammo and recharge rates between factions. Some are quite significant, like the total health of a Y-Wing compared to a TIE bomber. Some primary weapons are viable on one faction whilst not on another. Some have a very small change altogether, much like the standard laser cannons between the X-Wing and TIE fighter. The reason for this is to compensate for most Empire ships having no shields. But that doesn't mean that some comparisons are just downright insane. For example, the standard laser cannon on a Y-Wing has 472 DPS, while the TIE bomber has 640. Everything else, identical. This is an insane 168 damage difference per second. Don't believe me? Check it out in the customization section in-game yourself. If you're really unsure about your builds for certain classes, myself and Eckhartsladder has both released videos for the Interceptor and Support respectively, going over our favourite build and why we use them. So if you play any of those classes, definitely check those out in the top right corner now. Fighter and bomber videos will be coming soon. But if that isn't good enough for you, I recommend heading over to squadronbuilds.com. It allows you to build a full ship with all components and compare them to others. Also, don't forget to try these components on both factions to get an idea of what works for you too. For example, I've really fallen in love with the guided burst cannon for the TIE fighter, when you double up your firepower by putting all the power to lasers and then melting interceptors with ease. However, it's not as good on rebels since the DPS is lower and suffers hard against TIE bombers. Something this tip or trick should now help you realise. But that does lead me to the end of the video. What's your thoughts on these 5 tips? Have you learned something new, or are these tools you heard of before? Let me know all of that and our question of the day, which is, what tactic do you hate the most in Star Wars Squadrons? Put all your thoughts, opinions and questions down below. But other than that, I've been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.